2019, you did something which was in the news quite a bit. You sued the government. For people who don't know, those were literal crimes. If you cheated on your husband or your wife, you could go to jail. Why did you choose to get involved in, I guess, fundamentally matrimonial issues?
Take the example of an offender being jailed. Really, how does that support the family unit? You probably have the breadwinner in jail. What happens to that family? You have complicated issues of reconciliation because
one person.
How do you expect reconciliation to happen after that? If you were to allocate resources for the state to support families, maybe you would do better in diverting them to counseling services, to psychologists, to mediators, as opposed to allocating them to criminal prosecution, investigation, all that, which, in my view, does not put state resources to the best use.
Did you win that petition?
No, I did not.
So right now it's still illegal?
Yes.
This is the very, very best. I introduce the very, very next. Big deal. You know this is the big league. Sanga mumihanda ya chigari mega big fish. Word on the street to akaze. Habari gani mumeze mte. Yutse nshimi mana kuva honda muchiye. If you want the long form, come close mrabure. Wait, what?
The long form.
What did he say?
The long form.
What?
The long form.
The long form. The long form. Hello there. My guest this week on the Long Form podcast is Richard Mugisha, senior partner at Trust Law Chambers, one of Rwanda's most renowned law firms. Richard was the first ever Rwandan to head the 15,000-member East African Law Society when he was voted president in 2016. In this week's conversation, we discuss the highs and lows of his over 20-year career, his thoughts on the future of the legal practice in the age of AI, and his 2018 decision to petition the Supreme Court and challenge the criminalization of adultery. We also discuss his thoughts on the evolution of free speech in Rwanda. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to make a deal with you. About 69.5% of you who watched this very podcast haven't hit the subscribe button yet. So, here's the deal I want to make with you. If you hit that subscribe button today, I promise you that my team and I will keep making the show better and better in every single way. So, go ahead and hit that subscribe button today. And now, let's get into the show. Richard, welcome to the Long Form podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I feel like this has been close to a month in coming.
Yeah.
We met here at Cucina at a dinner.
Yeah.
And then you invited me to the very swanky Kigali Golf Club.
Yeah.
And now we're here. Someone doesn't stay in your profession, in any profession, for close to 30 years, unless they find a real value in it.
Yeah.
Was being a lawyer a childhood dream? And beyond that, have you ever regretted the choice in your career?
I've always been passionate about justice. Obviously, as you embark on a journey of becoming a lawyer now, studying law, it dawns on you that law and justice don't necessarily mean the same thing sometimes. And sometimes it can get frustrating because, even the law itself may not be one that will bring about justice. Yeah? But it is what it is. I don't think these issues like justice an exact science, and everybody's trying to do the best they can with the tools available to them. And I think people always mean well, but sometimes the effects of the laws may not necessarily be end in justice. I mean, even in systems that have the most resources, you will still get people who are condemned when they actually didn't commit crimes. And you will get people who walk away scot-free when they've done wrong things. And to that, in that regard, it may be frustrating, which is probably why I ended up being more of an advisory lawyer than a litigator.
Why?
Because when you litigate, you become emotionally invested.
Litigation, for those who don't understand that, means?
Appearing on behalf of clients in court. Yeah. I mean, we are taught not to be emotionally invested, but that is easier said than done. As you start working on a case, you obviously get emotionally invested.
You're a person.
Yeah. And it can be frustrating. Now, in some jurisdictions, the legal profession is split. You have the people who do litigation appearing in courts. Those ones are called barristers, say in the UK. They're called barristers. And then the people to whom you go for advice on legal issues, and they tell you what are the legal implications of anything you want to do, are called solicitors. In our context, it's a merged profession. But if you've got the luxury of choice, you can choose what you prefer, and that's where you specialize. So I think that's how I ended up preferring to be on the other side, the advisory role, specializing on commercial matters, sometimes mediating disputes without having to go into litigation. That's what I enjoy doing.
You talk about how being a lawyer was a childhood dream and how you were seeking justice.
Yeah.
Now, usually when a child cares about justice like that, it's because they've faced some form of injustice. You're now what, 54?
Almost 56.
Oof.
Later this month.
So you what?
We
you were born 1969.
We were born in the same month.
Yeah, you were born.
Mine
what,
is on 30th.
69?
Yeah.
Were you born in Rwanda?
No, I was born in Uganda to refugee parents.
Okay. Where were you born?
I was born in a village called Nazigo, where my father taught in a secondary school.
Is that closer to what big urban center was it close to?
It's close to Jinja.
So
about 10 kilometers or 10 miles from Jinja, yeah.
So you were not one of the refugee camp children?
No. Yeah.
Why? What injustice did you see as a young person living? I mean, you probably, if you're born in 69, Idi Amin becomes president in about 71.
Yeah.
So you are turning your upper childhood, where I'm talking about 7, 8, 9. You're in the midst of the Idi Amin regime with all the risks and disadvantages around that time. What injustices did you see or feel that made you have that sense of, I want to fight for the weaker party. I want to seek fairness.
So, from the time I was young, I mean, these injustices were things that were not remote. You experience them on a daily basis.
What do you mean?
You know, a friend's father is picked up, and those days they even used to pick them up, put them in the boot. Huh?
And you're seeing this?
No, friends would come and tell you, you know, or someone else say, oh, so-and-so's father was taken away in a boot, and probably they will never be seen again. But also in that place where I was born and where I spent maybe the first 7 years of my life, because my father was a teacher, so we used to move with him everywhere he was posted. And so most of my formative years were in Uganda. And in Uganda, there are so many land disputes. And wealthy people always carried the day when such disputes arose. And I remember there was this poor guy who had been dispossessed of his land. And he was a Burundian refugee in Uganda. And then he ended up staying very close to where we lived. Like he basically had nobody to talk to. And he used to come to our house just to vent. And I really felt for him.
And speak probably his language.
You know, such people got to a point where they couldn't speak any language properly. He could neither speak Kirundi well, or he couldn't speak, but he spoke something mixed up there, you know. But he would tell me about his ordeals. And
how old are you at this point when this man is talking to you?
15. And he's...
So this is in the 80s now?
Yes. And so you can see there's an element of property rights, there's an element of people being arbitrarily arrested, and you just feel that, you know, this is something that's just not right. I think all of us at a human level, we actually can perceive injustice. And we know, we may not know at an intellectual level what justice is all about, but at least we know what it is not.
We know what fairness is.
Yeah. We know what is fair, what fairness is. You don't need to be told that this is fair or it's not fair, but you can perceive it. And, you know, as you grow up, you get more clarity. But these are things you can sense even at a very young age, that it's not right. Now, obviously, you think the tool that will be at your disposal is being a lawyer. And it turns out that it also has its limitations, you know. Yeah.
You say that your dad was a teacher and he moved around quite a bit. He was Rwandan. You said he was Rwandan refugee.
Yeah.
I had thought that it wouldn't have been possible for him to be able to be employed by the Ugandan state.
So what happened, and I think that was the case for many young Rwandans at the time. So the French government was popularizing the study of French in secondary schools across Uganda.
Okay.
And obviously they didn't have, there were no French teachers. There were no French teachers. And so many young Rwandans who had an education, even though not a very long one, but mastered French, got themselves jobs to teach French. I remember many friends of my father doing similar things in different schools at the time. But once he made the entry point, then he slowly, there was this concept of licensed teachers. You get in, you don't have the pedagogical skills, so you become a licensed teacher, and then there are programs. There used to be programs to equip them with pedagogical skills, and eventually he started teaching even other subjects other than, as he learned English as well, he started teaching other subjects, and then he went on to become a school leader, head teacher, first starting as deputy head teacher and then eventually head teacher.
It's always amazing when you listen to the stories of like your dad, and it's always amazing to me just how resilient these men and women are or were. Think about what you've just said. It's not that he had gone to teacher training school, but he gets his little foot in, and then he just builds his career in a foreign land, and he's able to get to the top of his profession. I mean, not even a lot of Ugandan nationals who'd gone to Makerere and whatnot became headmasters.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to the kind of men and women that generation was.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, what beyond, some of the traumas of Idi Amin and the things that happened, you say that you were living around the Buganda area. So that means you not only saw Idi Amin, but you also saw his downfall.
That's
and
correct.
The Tanzanians coming in and with their Saba guns. What do you remember of that time? So we're talking about 1979. I hadn't even yet been born.
So what I remember was that, first of all, the Saba.
So those ones who don't know what a Saba is.
My goodness. That was such...
They are big guns, big artillery.
Were they guns? I'm not even sure, but all I know is they were very loud. You could hear it from afar. And so what I recall around that time were, Tanzanian soldiers overrunning Kampala. At that time, we had moved. We were living in another place called Gayaza.
So that's in Kampala now.
Like on the outskirts, about 10 kilometers from 10 miles from Kampala, and we actually saw Tanzanians, all over the place, including where we stayed, and actually, I even had Kinyarwanda-speaking Tanzanian soldiers. They were among them, And did
you speak to them, or what do you mean you heard them?
They talked to my parents.
There you go.
They talked to my parents, because you would be all over this, all of a sudden you would see them emerging And
from the bushes.
From the bushes, and yeah, they spoke to my parents, and so I saw a lot of as the regime fell. There was a lot of looting. There was a lot of looting, and some people actually died because of, they would go into stores to steal, and then, because of the goods falling on their heads, and they'll lose their
Like
lives.
a saucepan would.
There was a sense of relief that Idi Amin was gone. Although that was really short-lived, because Uganda didn't really get stable until around 86. Because even the successive governments, and at that time I was a bit older, so I could follow politics, and things didn't stabilize until way later in 1986.
I'd like to ask, you're obviously a child of refugees. Were you a Ugandan, or were you also a refugee?
I was a refugee. I was a refugee, and that's also another element of injustice that I feel. Being a Rwandan, you are always conspicuously different.
What do you mean?
And physical features. I could very easily be singled out. We were not very many where we lived, in the schools where we went to. And you don't realize these things until you're much older, but there were always small traumas, being labeled, Kanyarwanda, people rubbing it in all the time, just reminding you are different. And it does feel unfair and painful, actually. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've gone through Amin. You survive, I guess, the 5 years of the Museveni Bush War. Now, and as this is happening, you're getting older and older and older.
Yeah.
Then you told me that you did the first part of your high school in St. Mary's College, Kisui, and then ended in Kabalega, in Masindi. Then what happens? So this is what, 1988, 1989?
1989. Then I got a scholarship from the UN, and I went to study in Lesotho.
This is 89.
Yeah.
Quick question. So
actually, I went in 1990. 89 is when I finished high school.
I'd like to ask, 1987 is for Rwandans is a monumentous year. You probably know why.
Yes, of course.
Yes, that was the founding of the RPF. 1990 was when the RPF, the RPA, they crossed and started the War of Liberation. Were you aware of that, or were you, living the Ugandan high school experience? Were you did you have your ear to the ground? Did you kind of know what was happening?
Yeah. We used to have meetings. Particularly when I was in HSC, we had meetings.
That's A levels.
Yeah.
Meetings
just being sensitized. There were always leaders around.
Who do you remember?
There was a guy called Niyonzima, who was in Masindi town, who used to gather us to talk to us.
How many were you?
That school, Kabalega had quite a number of Rwandans, maybe 20. Yeah.
So you'd sit in a what?
Yeah, just tell us about stuff that was happening. It did sound like there was a lot of mobilization going on. Quite impressive because the machinery for that seemed to work across the whole country. Sort of clandestine in a way, but yeah. We knew a bit of what was going on.
And you never felt the urge to, because a lot of people that I know were in high school and they left high school and just decided to come. I had a conversation with another gentleman. I don't know if you know him. He's called Gerald Muchenga. And he was in Makerere at the time.
Yeah.
So he's a bit older than you. And he was saying that, you know what, he was advised, he also wanted to leave because all his friends left. And he was advised to stay because someone had to stay to take care of the parents. So I wanted to ask you, you know, when everyone left, one, were you aware that they had left? And two, did you ever feel tempted to also abandon things and join everyone else?
No, so first of all, when everybody left, I had left. I wasn't in Uganda at the time. And so I just learned that things had happened, you know. No, I was not tempted to leave because somehow I thought, I should stay and finish my studies. And yeah.
You went to Lesotho.
Yeah.
That must have been quite a culture shock.
It was. It was a culture shock.
Why?
It's very different in many respects to East Africa. And you know, we human beings thrive on familiarity. So when you end up in a place where people are different, first of all, the language, you can't speak to anyone except if you use English. And those people are so proud of their language, and they will even deliberately refuse to speak English, even though they can. So language was a bit of a problem. I also felt that they are not as peaceful as the people I had grown up with, you know.
Which is very strange because you literally grew up in the midst of civil war.
Yeah, but you know, people in Uganda are actually peaceful people. Yeah, they wouldn't just fight, get violent just out of the blue. You know, they're largely peaceful people. And so, for example, I can tell you, almost everyone, every young man at the university, you know, had a pocket knife, you know.
To do what with it?
Just to defend themselves, you know.
Against who?
In case they are attacked, you know. And I used to find it very strange. Yeah.
Were they being attacked, or was it more of an attitude or a fear?
No,
was the actual violence?
It was not unusual to be at a party and someone gets stabbed, you know. Yeah. But then, on the other hand, there were so many international students, quite a number from Uganda, other Rwandans, Zimbabweans, South Africans. So it was also nice to get to live and make friends with all those people. And I think in some ways it's helped me get along with people from anywhere because of that experience.
How many years were you there for?
So their system is you first do a 4-year BA course, then you do a 2-year Bachelor of Laws course. So the BA has many other subjects that are not purely law. So I was fortunate to be exempted from the first year because their high school ends with Form 5, and then that's when you go to university. Because I had finished A-levels, I was exempted from the first year. So I ended up doing 3 years of the BA and then 2 years of the LLB.
So you finished, what, 95?
5, yes.
And then what happened? Did you go back to Kampala?
No, because by then, having grown up without a country you call your own, and I was telling you about the constant reminders that, you are not one of us, It was always there, and I just didn't feel that there was a point for me to go anywhere else other than Rwanda.
So had your parents moved back, or were they still in Uganda?
They were still there.
Okay. So you came back here right after graduation?
Yes.
Did you actually know where you're going?
No, except I had a sister who lived here, who had moved here earlier, a few months earlier, and I had a cousin who had been in the army. So I knew I would find somewhere to stay. Yeah.
So this is 95 at this point.
Yeah.
You have, you're newly graduated, so you have your law degree from the University of...
National University of Lesotho.
Lesotho. Obviously, you're trying to start your career. You want to start earning money.
Yeah.
How do you get your very first job? When do you get your very first job?
So there was a team of lawyers who included the late Mucho, who was later became Minister of Justice. It was headed by a senior lawyer called Ndahiro. And they had been put together as a team to assist with tracking information on genocide perpetrators, particularly those who were outside the country. And this was a team in the Ministry of Defense. And I think, to be honest, everyone was trying to figure out how best to respond to what had just happened. And so even the actual mandate was not very clear. Yeah. So you had, in some ways, competing for the function with the traditional Ministry of Justice entities. And so it wasn't as satisfying as I would have expected, because it's almost impossible for a team of 5 people to undertake such an enormous task.
Yeah, tracking, these are tracking masterminds of genocide.
Masterminds, and then obviously even resource-wise, it didn't make sense to... those resources would always be limited, but they were even more limited those days.
Yeah.
And so undertaking that job while the others who are now already mandated with similar jobs in the ministry were also competing for the same resources, it was a bit challenging. However, I think the thinking eventually led to the establishment of what you now have, what was then the National Commission for the Fight Against Genocide. So people kept on refining the idea. But by that time I had left the organization because I didn't feel that it was that I would experience any growth or, do the kind of work that I thought I should be doing. And so I moved on. I had brief stints as a consultant in the Ministry of Interior, drafting the what would now become the National Police Act.
The police?
Yeah. I was working with some policemen from Zimbabwe. And then later I was appointed to be part of the task team that started the National Tender Board for public procurement.
And then you were there for a bit, and then you got another scholarship.
I wasn't there for a bit. I was actually there for close to 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, from 98 beginning
2002
to 2002 August. Yeah.
And then you went. You got the opportunity to go to one of the best universities in the world.
Yes.
Which one is that?
New York University.
NYU.
Yeah.
And you go there to do what?
So, my mentor from the time I was 21, Chief Justice Emeritus Rijeje.
That's Sam Rijeje?
Yeah, who actually taught me when I found him in Lesotho. But he's been a mentor of mine since then up to now. He identified a program at NYU at the time, which was the Public Service Law Program. And advised me to apply for it because he thought I would qualify for it. Now there, the program would only require you to do 6 credits of what is called public service lawyering, but then you could choose anything else you wanted to do to make up the 24 credits required for the LLM. And so those other credits I did were in international trade and investment. Yeah.
You graduated, and then in 2004.
2003.
2003.
Yeah.
You found Trust Law Chamber with a friend of yours. Who was that?
That's Apollo Honda.
Why
we actually go a long way because we had worked together even in Tender Board. Yeah.
Why did you? I mean, you had a fantastic job in the Tender Board.
Yeah.
And you hadn't resigned your function. You were asked for study leave.
Yes.
Why? And this is one of the questions that I really want to examine, which is understanding the thinking of risk and why sometimes risk is a good thing. But then also, how do you do risk in a way that will not throw you in a hole that you cannot get out of? Now, you had a great job.
That's correct, yeah.
But you come back and you say, you know what, I want to risk and start my own thing.
Yeah.
My own law firm. Of course, when you start something new, it can go either way. It can go be very successful, or it can fail. And how did you manage? Why would you make that decision? And how did you manage that risk?
So maybe to give you some context, when I was in New York, I got a lot of exposure to so many things. It's the kind of place that, I mean, there is lots of resources, lots of people, so you get to really engage with lots of people and engage with so many ideas. And it occurred to me then that, it is actually possible to be of service to your country without necessarily being a public servant. Because prior to that, that's all we thought, you can only serve your country if you work for the public service. But that mindset shifted when I was there. And I started entertaining ideas of looking for opportunities, maybe in international organizations but which were Africa focused. I also really entertained the idea of going into private practice. And then, fortunately, the university gave me an opportunity to explore those ideas. I was given a total of $12,000. So I was given $2,000 every month for 6 months, and I was also asked. I could choose whatever I wanted to be as I engaged with those ideas. So I spent 3 months at the COMESA Secretariat in Zambia, just to see if I could...
If you enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it, and probably figure out if I could use my knowledge from international trade there, and hopefully, find a job there and work. But I didn't enjoy it that much. I felt that, there's quite a bit of that I didn't like. Actually, I was offered a job, but I declined it and passed it on to another friend. And then I left there, and I went to what was then like a very hot and upcoming organization called NEPAD. It felt so hopeful about what the continent could become. So I arranged to go and spend time there. I didn't like a lot of what I saw.
What did you see?
I found that people got derailed by personal agendas as opposed to what was being portrayed as the real agenda for developing Africa.
What do you mean?
For example, people were just traveling all the time, hardly engaged in coordinating activities that would actually bring about the changes that they expected to work on. And people were hardly ever in the office, and it didn't feel that many countries were even fully engaged. It was mainly South Africa and a few other countries, but when it came to the guys at the secretariat, trying to implement all these big ideas, you could see that there were gaps, and so I didn't enjoy it that much. And now I was like, I think private practice could be a great idea. And I came back home to pursue that. Obviously, I had left on study leave. I was even paid while I was away. And what I thought would be the first challenge would be to actually announce that I'm not coming back to work for government when I was actually on study leave and had even been paid.
How did that go?
Thankfully, it wasn't very difficult because I first of all spoke with the then Minister of Finance, Donald Kaberuka, who had signed for me the leave, explained what I wanted to do, and I expected pushback, but he said, well, as long as you are in the economy, that's fine. It's fine. You can. What I don't want you to do is to leave the country, but if you stay within the economy, that's all right. And then I also took time to speak to the Secretary General of the party, the RPF.
Why?
Because those days were all deployed by the party anyway. So I felt duty bound to explain what I was going to do. But he was also very receptive. He's like, yeah, that sounds a great idea. You can serve your country from wherever. So that was not a very difficult hurdle. I was given...
They said, you can go.
Just go. Now
what became the real difficulties?
Well, the difficulties always lie in, okay, now you've decided. I leaned on some savings I'd made.
How much? Do you remember?
I don't recall, but I had to rent an office. I had sold my car before I left, so I needed a car to use. I needed to, having rented the office, partition it, to create space for, a secretary, potentially another partner. I had to, buy computers, desks, and stuff like that.
Are you talking about what? $20,000, $10,000? Because the reason I'm asking this is because very often people are scared to make moves in their lives because they think it will take too much. I don't have the means or the resources, or sometimes they don't know that you don't have to start super big to start your journey. So I would like to know if it's. I know it's been close to 30 years, so you're not going to remember the exact number, but give us a ballpark figure. Was it $10,000?
It was about anywhere between 10 and 15,000. Yeah.
To start a law firm.
Yeah.
So that included rent, partitioning, money to live on.
Yeah.
Computers. Literally a fully fledged office.
Yes.
One of the hardest things in life as a married person or, a married man or woman is starting afresh when you've just, when you have a family, especially when you have a young family. How, and for those who don't know, the National Tender Board of those days, that was probably one of the best jobs to have in Rwanda.
I mean, we used to earn about $900 a month, which was, by all accounts, a very...
That's maybe around what a minister would make, give or take.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
No, so you were extremely well paid.
Yeah.
gotten married,
Yes.
and the first kid or the second at that time?
My son at the time was, because when I left for New York, he was 5 months. So at the time, he was just under 2 years, about
Yes.
18 months.
So literally a very young family.
Yeah.
How difficult was the conversation between you and your wife about leaving this very lucrative position, this very safe position,
Yeah.
and attempting to strike it out on your own? And her understanding that, you know what, it can go either way.
I mean,
And how do you even have that conversation? Maybe that's even a better question, right? Is how do you have that conversation in a way that, you know, everyone feels comfortable?
to be honest, it wasn't even a very difficult conversation.
Why wouldn't it be?
The way I articulated was like, right now, we don't have that many expenses. And I think if I don't take the risk now, I'll never take it, because, you know, she had a job at the time. We only had one child, and yeah, we could live on very little as we figured things out, and so it wasn't a very hard sell, to make. I was obviously very scared as I was embarking on that journey.
You know, sometimes people really never really talk about that fear.
Oh, I mean, the fear has to be there. You're a human being. You have to be. If anybody tells you that, most likely, I think they're lying. How can you not be afraid when you're going to embark in something that is completely unfamiliar, uncharted territory? Yeah, so I was, but I remained convinced that there would be no other time other than then. Because once you've got many kids, and because people don't take breaks on feeding and going to school, so it becomes very challenging to weigh your options. But then, I mean, my son wasn't even in school. No, actually, no, he had started going to a daycare, but we were not paying much. Yeah, so that it was a little easier. And then I got a lot of support from friends, and they also encouraged me to say, you know, if things get tough, don't hesitate to reach out, you know. And I never had to make use of that offer very much. They had already been very generous with their contributions to my startup. But that assurance kept me going. You know, like if things really have to get tough, and I can give you an example of one of those incidents. So my son had to undergo a surgical procedure to deal with tonsillitis, which were causing him a lot of problems. But then my wife, were expecting our second child. Now, as someone who was just new in business, I didn't have sufficient resources to devote to that procedure. And the pediatrician of my son at the time, Dr. Binagwaho, advised that she thought it was best to have the procedure in Kenya because there were not many, if I struggle with pronouncing this.
Pediatric?
No. Anesthetist. Yeah. And that's what you need most when
Yes.
you undergo a procedure. Because she's like, this procedure is very easy. It can be done, it's a day procedure. You don't even have to stay in hospital. But then, you have to make sure that someone who sends your child to sleep will
Also be able to wake up your child.
And so, the only reason, the only way I managed to go through that is call upon friends. One of my friends was the ambassador in Kenya, so he gave us shelter. Another friend ran a travel agency. He loaned me tickets, and all I did was look for money to buy the tickets, rather to pay the doctors. And so, like, I have always had good friends that I can lean on, and so that was helpful to know.
And it also sounds like you did a very good job of not burning the bridges behind you.
Yeah.
Whenever you're moving forward, you made sure that your friends, partners, people who had put you in these positions were comfortable with the moves that you're making.
Yes.
Which I think is very important and is probably why, that's a very high level of emotional intelligence, which is something that a lot of people do not talk about when they're thinking about business or going off on different paths, is that it's not just about what you know or resources, it's also how you deal with people and how people deal with you.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing great you can ever achieve alone. You have to, everything you do successfully is attributable to many people.
Yeah.
You could be the major player, but you've been assisted by many others. Yeah.
And I mean, the choices you made in 2003. Obviously, they were the right choices. You've run a very successful law firm. You've done big deals, and you probably make more than $900 a month now.
I do.
I'd like to ask about now the future of law, right? So you had a good run. You really enjoyed your time. When you started your career, when you were thinking about justice and all that, and you're going to Lesotho, the internet was not even a thing. It was maybe a thing in the US. It was not really a resource here in Africa. Now, because I also did law in uni, and I remember what we would do is we'd go to the library and get one book and scan it, and then we'd have like a stack of books, right? And you're looking for maybe one precedent or one case law, and it was just book on book on book, and then you'd like read, and then you wouldn't find something, then you take all the books back, then you look for other books. Now, obviously, the internet has changed all of that. And not only has the internet, by the time I graduated, we were using Google to, research now. I don't think you guys had Google in Lesotho, probably not.
No, certainly not.
Maybe New York, but not in Lesotho. So the legal practice was, it was in a certain kind of way. We researched, we learned in a certain kind of way, and because it was so specialized, by the time we graduated, people really couldn't do what we do. And that's why we got the big bucks, because we were specialists. Now, you have ChatGPT and other, what they call LLMs, the large language models, like even the Chinese DeepSeek, which is what that I prefer to use. Now, with these ChatGPT, it can literally do the work of an entire law firm. It can research, write, look for precedent, put together a contract, and it's made life so much easier. But also, I think sometimes I wonder if it hasn't made life so much harder for people trying to get into the sector. People who used to come in as interns, who their job was maybe to research, but now you can sit and tap, and get all the information you need. I'd like to kind of like, with that knowledge and you kind of seeing where things have come from and where things are, I'd like to ask, what do you think happens in the next 20 years when it comes to the way we do law in Rwanda, especially when we throw in AI and everything around that?
So I think, as you rightly put it, disruption has been happening continuously. Yeah? And so someone who practiced law, 30 years ago, was disrupted along the way. And so the point is not really wishing that AI never came, but rather, what do you do to make sure that you keep up with the times of AI? Now, in the work that I do, I can tell you that you can have a contract drafted much more quickly using AI tools. You can even review a contract much more efficiently using AI tools. But I also know that AI will never close a deal.
It will never close a deal.
That is the reserve of people sitting across the table and convincing each other about where the points of disagreement remain. So the question then becomes, if you're going to be a lawyer succeeding in this era, what are the other skills that you need to be able to make sure that you add value to what, because research, there's not going to be so much money in researching, because you've got tools that can do it much faster, and in a more accurate manner. But are you well equipped with the other human skills you need to close the deal, so that your respective clients are happy with what they are getting? Because now what we've been doing is we've spent so many hours doing the research and reviewing and all this. So, but it doesn't end there. Same with the other side of the law that is about...
If I can, before we go to the other side, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, if what you're saying is, because there's the legal part, right? It used to be you do the research, you write, then you bring the people together.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that made you a lawyer was pretty much your knowledge of the first two parts, right? Which is the researching and putting a document together. And then came the last part, which was maybe the negotiation, where you kind of threw in your psychology and the understanding. It wasn't really about law, it was about understanding people and understanding a win-win situation and convincing. So here's my question to you. Because you've said that the last part is still a fundamentally human aspect of the legal profession. So if a young person is listening to this conversation, which is the large part of my audience, why should they then study law if they understand that by the time I graduate, say in 5 years, ChatGPT will even be stronger than it is today, right? Because that's the way these things, these models are going. They're becoming better and better and better. Why study law? Yet I can maybe say study psychology, right? Because what you've said is you need to crack the deal. That's fundamentally where the win is. That's the human aspect. That's where where the computer cannot take your job.
Yeah.
Everything else between there, the computer will take your job. The AI will take your job. So maybe let me ask you a silly question. Would you advise a young person today who's maybe not 20, because maybe 4 years from now, life will have not changed too much. Let's say someone who's 15. Would you advise a 15-year-old who has finished O-level and that young person also cares about injustice, right? So he or she is built like you. Would you advise them to become a lawyer, to study law?
So it's interesting that you ask me that question, because quite a number of young people and parents whose children want to do law have always asked me whether kids going straight from high school to law school is the right thing to do. And I've said to them, I don't think so. So I sort of prefer the American model, where you study general subjects, and then you can then later go and do law school. And the reason for that is that law does not operate in a vacuum. Each time you're working on a deal or you're litigating, there's a problem you want to solve. And you need knowledge that cuts across for you to be able to do justice to the problem that you want to solve. So, and now, of course, it depends on who I'm talking to, because I also understand that for the majority of students, maybe they don't have the luxury of, go enjoy studying psychology and philosophy and history and English, then go do law later, because resources may not be available. But to the extent that the resources are available, the trajectory should be go have fun with many of these other subjects that will never be tampered with by AI, and then bring those attributes to complement what AI can do, so that you can have a better product. Yeah.
So how about kids who, from here, in Rwanda, we are not like the US system, where you have to do law as almost a postgraduate certificate or degree. Here you can go straight from high school into law school. So you think that it might not make sense now?
First of all, I actually think it doesn't make sense. I have always thought it doesn't make sense even before. Because you see, take the example of the UK. Most people don't know this, but the majority of legal practitioners in the UK have not gone to school to study LLB from high school. They study other degrees, and then they do a 1-year conversion course. And then, having done that, they now train to become either a barrister or a solicitor. So it's, to put it differently, I would advise that people get an education that allows them to train for the skills they need to perform the functions they have to do.
What are the chances? So one of the challenges of justice is that fundamentally it's human beings who dispense justice.
Yeah.
And the thing with a human being is, for all the good that we are able to tap into, we can also be human. We're not robots. We have a bad day. We get hungover. We argue with our spouse. We are disappointed by our kids. We have heartbreak. We make mistakes. We have biases. And the one thing with computers or AI, if they are not obviously inherently biased by the people who input the information, is that they are completely logical, right? If someone hasn't inputted something saying, you know, women are bad, say, into the AI, then they will not be biased against women. So if the input into the AI is done properly, it's stone cold. It looks at a case, you ask it a question, it will give you an answer. So one of the things with any kind of justice system is that it's full of people with all the problems that people have. We often don't like to talk about it because I guess it takes away from our trust in the systems that we've now created as human beings. But fundamentally, justice is not blind. We say that justice is blind. Justice is not blind. AI can be blind if, again, we input the right information or the right way. I'd like to ask you, 20 years from now, do you think we still have human judges on the bench? Because the thing with judges, they have a lot of power, and they are supposed to dispense justice blindly. But as I, started my sentence with, they are human as well, with all the issues that human beings face. So do you think that in 20 years from now, we're going to see AI judges? Will you be arguing in your 70s in a court, arguing towards a screen?
Well, like I said before, I don't foresee a situation where the justice system is completely without human beings. What I see, and I think it's a good thing, is that we become much more efficient, and we are much more accurate. But let's take the example of a criminal proceeding. It usually starts from what you are suspecting an individual to have done. There is no way AI can initiate that
the investigation.
Task. No way. You have to say, this is what I suspect could have gone wrong, and then you start to investigate with a view to coming up with a charge. Yeah? What AI could do is to organize your findings and help you achieve a more, an accurate conclusion of your of what you've been able to come with. It can organize it for you in such a way that you come up with a conclusion and in a quick way to decide whether there's a charge to be made or not. When you go to the prosecutor, same story. You will need to do some research to make sure that you have an indictment that holds water. But you can have much more, like you can input the information and say, okay, what I have received, does it fulfill, the elements of a crime? Was their intention, can it be complemented by the acts? And is there a case to answer here so that, then you proceed to have it. And then when you have arguments in court, you have got to examine witnesses. AI is not going to examine witnesses, but it can keep a very good record of what every witness is saying and probably give the judge a fair summary of what has happened and enable the judge to make a more informed decision, because the work is being done much more accurately and quickly. So you will achieve efficiency, you will achieve better outcomes. So inevitably that reduces headcount in the systems, but you will definitely need the human beings.
I'd like to move from AI to future talk, to maybe conversations of things that happened in the past. In 2019, you did something which was in the news quite a bit. You sued the government. Well, it's not really suing, but someone could say that you took, you became adversaries with the Ministry of Justice.
Yeah.
You went to the Supreme Court of Rwanda in 2019, and where you challenged portions of the new penal law, the criminal law.
Yes.
And you said that some of these things that are now in the law that had been passed by, cabinet, and they'd gone into the National Gazette, and you were saying, these things are unconstitutional. These things are not just. Now, what I thought was really interesting was, among the things that you sued the government about was certain crimes, and the fact that the government was still going to prosecute these crimes, and these were adultery, and married people deserting their homes. For people who don't know, those were literal crimes. If you cheated on your husband or your wife, you could go to jail.
Still actually.
Or if you you decided that I don't want to deal with this wife of mine. I've left the home to live somewhere else. I've not beaten her or anything. I've just left. You'd go to jail. You could go to jail. And you said that was unconstitutional and incorrect.
Yeah.
Now, you're someone who's would be called part of the system.
Yeah.
And I think that could be said without any prejudice. When someone thinks about challenging the government on stuff like that, they'd say, "Oh, this is a opposition. This is someone who's not a friendly force." But you did that. I'd like to ask, what was the thinking behind it, at a legal perspective, but also at a very human perspective? Why did you choose to get involved in, I guess, fundamentally matrimonial issues? And why did you choose to do that? And how did it actually go?
So, first of all, I think for a lawyer to bring up such petitions, it's not necessarily taking on government as an adversary. I think the law itself does provide avenues for how things which probably were made with the right intentions end up, completely undermining the very interests they sought to protect. And so the avenues available is for those of us in the legal profession to actually sort of course correct. Now, that was a very controversial case, and I really got very much misunderstood by lots of people, particularly women's groups. I remember we had 48 women's organizations submit a petition against, come out to oppose the petition I had initiated.
Why?
Because they thought that the whole idea was to legalize adultery or irresponsible behavior, which was far from the truth. Because
why women's groups?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but
Because
I think there is a tendency for people to think that
only men cheat.
That the adultery is only
That only men
just
cheat.
That only men cheat, which is actually not even correct, because the data we had from the National Prosecution Authority pointed to a totally different picture.
What was the picture?
The picture was that in virtually most of the cases, it was never a married man with a single woman. It was two married people most of the time. So
they were cheating on their respective spouses.
Yeah, but the point here that I'm trying to make is that the reason why I linked it to the Constitution provides in broad terms that the state shall enact laws and policies to support the family as a unit of society. So which means that laws and policies enacted should be should have that as a goal, to put into action what the Constitution provides. Now, take the example of an offender being jailed. Really, how does that support the family unit? You probably have the breadwinner in jail. What happens to that family? You have complicated issues of reconciliation, because
one person.
How do you expect reconciliation to happen after that? So it might satisfy a vendetta of the aggrieved party at that time, but in the long run, it undermines the Constitution. Now, the other thing is there is an issue of resources, because every choice you make, you have to allocate resources to it. Now, if you were to allocate resources for the state to support families, maybe you would do better in diverting them to counseling services, to psychologists, to mediators, as opposed to allocating them to criminal prosecution, investigation, all that, which, in my view, does not put state resources to the best use. So that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
But as with effect to whether adultery is a good thing for marriages or not, I definitely think it is not a good thing.
I don't think anyone would say it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And did you win that petition?
No, I did not.
So right now it's still illegal.
Yes. I still think that law is not good, but the Supreme Court decided, so yeah.
So why did the Supreme... Okay. Help me understand this. Maybe you can, right? Talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. When me and my wife decided to get married, it was a choice we made. And we went to the commune, and we signed a marriage contract.
Yeah.
How does what I do after the marriage contract then become a criminal matter? I don't understand.
Yeah, but
the
that's the whole point.
it.
That's the whole point for the petition. But I think the proponents of that law also have some valid points, because
I want to hear them.
they are saying that the laws of a country must also reflect the morals of the society. And so, if you cannot allow, you cannot make it easy for families to disintegrate, because then that has major implications for the society.
Sure.
This is where they are coming from. And I agree. My only problem is that we don't agree on the approach.
Listen, I don't want to put you on the spot for this, but so I'll say it myself. I sometimes do not understand the choices that are made,
Yeah.
or the laws that are put in place, because I also know, because I live in this very society, where we're seeing that we're living in a society where we're trying to uphold the family unit. I also know that there are challenges in this society, and that if people were actually followed, and the law was actually followed, very few families would be untouched by that very law on adultery. Very few friend groups would not have a victim or two. Very few places of work would not suddenly lose 5 or 6 people because they're under the care of rib in somewhere. So how do we get out of this? Because I'm having this conversation with you because I guess I actually I thought that you had won that one.
No, I did not.
So up to now, so how long can you go to jail for cheating on your spouse?
6 months.
6 months. Is that the maximum sentence?
Yeah. However, the charge can be dropped if the offended spouse extends
Leniency.
leniency. The only problem, though, is by that time there's too much water under the bridge.
Exactly. Like if you've sent me to jail,
Yeah.
I'm not going to, even if I'm in jail for a week,
Yeah.
I'm not going to forgive you.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
You've already embarrassed me.
Yeah.
Maybe the New Times has, they've taken a picture of me.
Yes.
It's. Have you? Okay, maybe the Supreme Court had nothing to do because maybe the law was.
No, I think.
I was going to say, is there any? have you maybe tried to talk to maybe the framers of the law, maybe members of parliament, maybe the justice? You know, you're a senior lawyer. You're not a man off the street. You can make a few phone calls, put a few petitions.
No, I think we also need to learn how to use the platforms that are available to us. If you start using those channels, it does.
I mean, just advocacy.
It just
at this point.
It does feel like it's personal. As a professional, the platform I had was the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And I actually, at some point, I thought the arguments we were making made sense. But there was such a public outcry. I was telling you about these 48 organizations that came up with, in total.
So they were saying that,
they thought that, and honestly, I don't believe that up to now the law has served any purpose.
So it's just there.
Yeah, because
have people gone to jail?
Because you see, a few people have gone to jail, but not very many. Because you see, what you need to go through to implement such a law is actually a lot. Because most of these things are also done in secrecy.
Of course, you don't. That's the whole point of cheating.
So how do you
catch them,
investigate, and get credible evidence? And quite frankly, why should anyone be investing such resources?
Yeah.
But
it is what it is.
The law is the law, and yeah.
I guess it goes back to what you were saying, where justice and fairness and law are two different things, three different things.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you, how is our legal system seen in East Africa? The reason I'm asking is that despite the fact that Rwandan lawyers are now members of the East African Law Society, they still aren't able to freely practice in other nations. Is it because, say, are our lawyers incompetent? Are they not up to snuff? Are our standards very poor? Is it because of our legal system, which is a bit more, Belgian rather than, Commonwealth? Or is it, as I personally believe, it doesn't have to be your personal belief, but is it because it's fundamentally protectionism under the guise of legal standards?
So, first of all, the challenge that we face, we've been trying to do this even when I was president of East Africa Law Society, to get this cross-border practice unlocked. But we all understand the value of unlocking it at an intellectual level. But the challenge comes with the fact that what we understand intellectually is not in alignment with where our heart is. And each time you have got that misalignment, you never get moving.
What do you mean?
Because at the heart level, people are scared. Like if they open up the practice, then they are going to lose.
Are Kenyans allowed to practice here?
There's a time they were, but when they removed the reciprocity, then we also
did the same. Are Ugandans able to practice here?
No, because they have even never allowed reciprocity.
Okay. Tanzanians have never?
No.
Burundians?
No.
Congolese?
No.
Okay. So you have this East African Law Society and none of you can practice?
Yeah. I think, like with all good intentions, it's not good to give up. Yeah, keep working on it. Hopefully, at some point, it's. My personal view has always been, and this is something I tried to push when I was in leadership of the society was, let's start with non-jurisdiction specific areas of the law.
What do you mean?
Because what I mean by that is that there are certain laws which, if someone is good, they can practice them anywhere. Let's take the example of construction law. If you're a good construction lawyer, you should be able to do that in any jurisdiction.
In any country.
In that way, you don't encroach on the space of family law, criminal law, like those things which are jurisdiction specific, where you need understanding more of the local knowledge. And so that would take away the excuse of saying that the Rwandan lawyers were trained in a civil law jurisdiction, so they cannot practice in our jurisdiction because ours is a common law jurisdiction. Because, a construction contract is generally more or less similar wherever you are. You could say the same about mining, you could say the same about project finance, you could say the same about banking and finance. Like those are non-jurisdiction specific areas of the law where people who master them could practice them across the region. And the other advantage would be that it would now be possible for lawyers to collaborate and establish East Africa-wide firms. Because right now, when it comes to those specialized areas, all our countries are getting that expertise from outside East Africa. Because it's very difficult to make a case to invest in a large firm when you cannot access the entire market. Yeah? And that's the opportunity that we still can't see because, like I said, our head is not in alignment with the heart. So,
I mean, someone else would call that protectionism.
That's correct, because protectionism is derived from fear, and fear never happens in the head; it happens in the heart. So,
or maybe not maybe not fear, just selfishness. Right? Again, it's the
still.
I don't want to share my cake.
Still, selfishness is fear. You think for you to have a cake, someone else has to lose it. No. Yeah.
One of the most insensate accusations that the government of Rwanda has faced, this government, since 1994 really, has concerned free speech and media freedoms. As part of your challenge in 2019, you also challenged laws that criminalized drawing cartoons of government officials and humiliating them through writing.
Yeah.
And this is what you also challenged that in the Supreme Court. How did that go?
So that went well, actually. The Supreme Court agreed with us on every other official except the President of the Republic.
Why? So the President, you can't draw cartoons of him?
So that is what the court decided. However, after our case, the President himself said he did not agree with the ruling of the court.
I mean, yeah, but the President doesn't make law.
And subsequently, that article was changed.
Okay. So now someone can draw a cartoon of him.
Yeah, but the arguments we were making before court was like, that's just endangering journalists for no good reasons, because anyone could overuse the hand of the law to stifle, criticism. But we also said to them, when you have got a president of a country who has a Twitter account, like, what that means is that he's ready for whatever comes. Yeah? So what point are you making by having such a legislation that really is not even in keeping with the times?
I'd like to ask you, okay, I understand the cartoons, right? Because I've seen, people draw all sorts of funny things. What do they mean by humiliating through writings? Like if I said, for example, if I said that, and this is not necessarily the case, I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. Richard is the shortest lawyer I've ever seen. Would that have been, if I'd written that, would that have been a humiliating phase if you don't like being called short, for example?
And that's the whole challenge. The whole challenge is each interprets it their own way.
And Rwandans are
which
notoriously known for being thin-skinned.
would take on, it would mean different things to different people. And so, again, the whole point was all these public officials maintain Twitter accounts, which means, they're ready for anything. So
how about the public officials who don't? Let's say I'm a public official, I don't have a Twitter account, you write something about me, and I don't like it.
Go for defamation. Why should it be a criminal offense? Because if you say your name has been put into disrepute, you can have an action, but which is not criminal. Yeah. You can get your redress from there.
Yeah. Well, looking at what the court cases and everything that you've been a part of, where do you think Rwanda stands today when it comes to free speech, at least at a legal level? I will not go into the politics, but the legals.
First of all, I always question what the people that criticize our system for being, what did you say, suppressive?
Draconian, suppressive.
And if you see, the consistency is from the same quarters. The report that I find most instructive and useful is what they call, have you heard of the Rule of Law Index?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Rule of Law Index does extensive research.
Who does it?
It's the World Bank. And they consider about 8 factors. I don't remember all of them offhand, but there is law and order, absence of corruption, open government, what else? Civil justice, criminal justice. There are about 8 indicators. So they look at law, the rule of law, in a holistic perspective. And that index has always put Rwanda, has always rated Rwanda very highly. Because at the end of the day, there is a society to be managed so that everyone can thrive. Now, these human rights groups and journalists groups are just focused on just one area, which is individual liberties. And sometimes they only stop at what an individual has suffered without even going into the context of why that happened in the first place. But because they are very noisy, and they they put their word across much more vigorously than say the rule of law index. That's what most people are going to be judged against. But are there problems to address? Of course there are.
What do you think is the biggest problem to address?
I think for me the issue would be excessive use of detention as
That's within the entire legal system or within the context of
no just
free
with
speech?
just the entire legal system. Again, there are reasons to this. People are trying to do their best to run a system with
a complex system.
Limited resources, and so there is. I think we probably could be more innovative to make sure that we have improvements there. But I disagree with people who think that it's deliberate to just
throw everyone in jail.
Throw everyone in jail. It's people trying to do the best they can with the resources available to them.
I guess I hear what you're saying, and I'm very aware of our limitations in terms of resources, but I also do think that it might be a spirit within ourselves as a Rwandan people. We like punishment. I think there might be something within our culture of guhana. And of course, law cannot be separate from culture. So we want, quote unquote, perpetrators or criminals to feel it, to feel the pain. So it's going to, I don't know if it's even about resources per se.
So it began with resources. But the challenge is that, notwithstanding the weaknesses of the system, it has actually worked to achieve its objectives. Now, when you do have such a scenario, the motivation to make changes is also not there. Basically, if it's not broken, why fix it?
That's true.
And so, but then it's now getting to a position where I think action has to be taken because, again, if you have limited resources, it's important to allocate them in the most efficient way possible. Now, excessive use of detention is actually expensive. It's extremely expensive. So the more you, and it's sort of a vicious cycle. If you don't have resources to invest in improving your investigation skills and resources, then they are going to be absorbed by the expenditure of keeping people in jail.
And then because you have a bunch of people in jail, you can't afford to...
Yeah, and then when you have a lot of people in jail, then you also...
You can't afford the other side.
You can't even execute the primary function of people being in jail, which is reformatory. Because that also requires resources of its own. You've got to have resources to educate, so that people come out of there as better people.
Not as more hardened criminals.
Yeah. So some thinking needs to be done around that area to improve. And I think...
Do you think that thinking is being done?
I think it's being done because there is a new criminal justice policy that was passed about, is it 2 or 3 years ago? It has many things, and if it is well implemented, I think it will help a lot.
Yeah.
So there is, for example, plea bargaining, which is now being worked on as one of the avenues to deal with offenders. I think there was talk at some point of having these devices that track people who are suspected, so that if you don't have them in jail, you can still know that they're there and you can follow them. But I think an even bigger investment needs to be done in the improvement of the quality of investigations.
Yeah. Last question. Are you still the Honorary Consul of the Republic of Lithuania in Rwanda?
Yes, I am.
Now, okay. You're obviously not Lithuanian.
No.
How does that... Why? How did you even get in this position?
So that's a very interesting question. So there is a gentleman who was a former official of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Lithuania. He was on holiday across East Africa. So at the time, he was in Uganda. And
what time was that?
This was 2019. 2019, 2018. So he met the Lithuanian, the Honorary Consul of Lithuania in Kampala. And then he said to him, we do have an Honorary Consul here. We have one in Kenya. We have one in Tanzania. But we don't have one in Rwanda. And so this guy called a few people, and they zeroed down on me to have a meeting with that gentleman. So I didn't know much about the country. I didn't know much about the role. So we met for a drink at the Mill Colleen, and he explained to me what he was looking for, and he told me that in Lithuania they are not looking at investing in embassies, and they try to make up for that by having honorary consuls across the country. Across the world. So in Africa they have embassies in only 2 places. That's South Africa and Egypt. Yeah, so that's how the conversation started, and then they asked me to give them some documentation about me, which I gave them. And then 2019, I think, I was invited to go and meet with their Minister of Foreign Affairs to have a conversation about this. And
you were invited where?
To Lithuania. So I went, we had the conversation, and yeah, that's how it all started. Then they sent letters here to request, because they have to ask the government here to accept that.
But why Lithuania of all the countries? What's in it for you?
I didn't think much about what was in it for me, but I I just wanted to explore the challenge. So, as an honorary consul, you are charged with promoting business interests, business and cultural interests, yeah, and to also assist Lithuanian nationals in the country if they encounter any challenges, just to provide them with assistance. Now, what is true though is that obviously there would be opportunities, business opportunities, but you have to look for them yourself. And that happens because usually you'll always be the first point of contact if any of them need to do something in the country. Yeah.
Have you been enjoying it?
Yes, I have been there twice.
No, have you enjoyed the role though?
Yes, that's what I was saying. I've been there twice. I have had very good visits. So generally speaking, I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy connecting people. So it's something that
it's intrinsic to you.
Yeah, it's intrinsic to me. I don't struggle with it. And so I have helped them solve some problems here, which was good. And I still remain hopeful that we could do more together with the business community there. It's just that I haven't had time to go there as much as I would have wanted. But I have enjoyed what I've been able to do.
Is it a paid position?
No, it's not.
So you're a volunteer?
Yeah.
Richard, thank you so much.
Most welcome.
This was really interesting for me to kind of hear your thoughts on some of the issues that are near and dear to me, especially when it comes to freedoms, but also law, but also kind of hearing your story. One of the things that I feel that Rwandans are not great at is sharing their stories, right? If you'll find a lot of information about you, but there's nowhere that you'll actually find where was Richard born? When was he born? How many siblings does he have? What drives him? It's just, this is who he is. He's a partner. He does this. He honorary consul, and he's sued the government. That's as much as information you can get about Richard. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your life story with us, and spending this time. I know that you could have been playing golf, but you decided to spend it with me. Your time. I'm sorry for forcing you to miss your tea time.
That's fine. I will find another tea time. And thank you for inviting me.
And next time, I think this was the first one, as we said off camera. This is the first one to kind of get a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
I think I would love to have you back a few times whenever there's a big national issue that needs a legal perspective, whether it's, like you said, criminal justice reform or constitutional challenges or issues that international treaties and whatnot. I mean, right now there's what's happening in Doha with M23 and the DRC government. There was the Washington Accords between Rwanda and DRC. We haven't really talked about those legal aspects of it, and I'm sure that in your position, one, you get a lot of, you know about them, and someone as seasoned as you have probably a very well articulated thought about some of those issues. So I'd love for you to not become a stranger to this couch, and share with us your thoughts. They should not only be shared with the men and women of the Kigali Golf fraternity.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
I hope you enjoyed your experience here.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah, and I'll be happy to be back.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the very end. I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on today's conversation. So drop a comment below and join the discussion. You can also join us on the social media of your choice. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend and invite them to the conversation. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Thank you, Kigali Marriott Hotel, for providing a venue for the long-form podcast to record. At the heart of Kigali's hospitality, Kigali Marriott offers everything from luxury stays to premier event spaces, fine dining, and top-tier conference facilities. Keep up with them at Kigali Marriott on socials and visit their website www.marriott.com.